welcome to CTC, Carl Talking College. My name is Carl. I'm your gracious host today. Today we will be going over the ACC, this little conference preview I have going on while we're waiting for the college season, which starts in 31 days. Can't wait. 30 days now, excuse me. I'm so excited. I got with me my boy, Asa Cannon. Knew him since I was growing up, both from Capitol Heights. Hey, it's funny because, I know this isn't college, but he's a Steelers fan. I'm a Ravens fan. You know what I'm saying? He likes Duke. I like Michigan State, college basketball. He played with Lake Auburn Seahawks. I played with Marlow Heights Hurricanes. We played each other a lot in college, and Little League football. So I got my boy with me. I'm gonna have him talk about himself. His favorite. I told you no, I didn't tell you his favorite team. He's gonna tell you your favorite team, and he's gonna go over a little bit about himself. So go ahead. What's up, Asa?
Yeah, man. We basically mortal enemies in this. We've always been rivals with everything. But it's all good, man. It always makes for some friendly banter every time I see you, every time we talk. And like you said, from Capitol Heights, my favorite college football team is Miami. So, we don't have no rivalry right there, but y'all did beat us the last time we saw each other. But we ain't got to bring that up right now. We can get into more pressing things.
Shout out my boy K9. Yeah, so I'm going to ask you, what made you become a Miami Hurricanes fan?
Well, I can remember my uncle every time we would play Madden or something, to create a player, you always got to pick a college. He always put me on Miami. And then after that, I learned that they were good. So it's like, all right, I'm just go from there. Granted, they haven't been the best since then, but I saw some stuff here and there,
Yeah, we're gonna get in that. We're gonna get into that a little bit later. But hey, shout out for you staying down. Some people jump ship because it's 100 some colleges. Hey, look, this one team ain't working out. I'm gone.
Hey man, I'm loyal to a fault. Trust me.
Nah, I feel you. Hey, look, Michigan State has some dog ears, so I feel you. I'm right there with you. All right, so before we go into all these previews about each team, there's 14 teams in the conference. For those who don't know, it's Boston College, Duke, North Carolina State. You got Wake Forest, Louisville, the U. You have I think I said UNC. I don't think I said UNC already.
I think you said UNC, guys.
I did. My bad. My apologies. You got Florida State, which is the rival of the U. So Clemson, Syracuse, Pitt, Georgia Tech, Virginia, and Virginia Tech. And now you have the Atlantic of the ACC, which is Clemson, Florida State, Louisville.
Actually, we don't have divisions anymore.
Oh, yeah, I don't.
They got eliminated this year.
Oh.
So 14 teams.
Okay, cool.
Teams in the conference go.
Cool. All right, bet. So my apologies. I'm so used to the old school ACC. They took it out and slipped my mind. My apologies.
Thank you, man.
Thank you for that, Ace. And then so we don't have Notre Dame. Notre Dame is not an ACC school in football, but they do have 6 ACC games this year. Those games are North Carolina State. Give me 1 second. They are North Carolina State, Duke, Louisville, Pitt, Clemson, and Wake Forest, which some of those should be really good and some of those might be a disaster. Clemson and Notre Dame, I think, is going to be a really good one.
That's definitely going to be a good game. Especially coming off that embarrassing loss Clemson last year, they're going to want to prove themselves. I think they're playing at Clemson this year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so I can't wait. I know as college football heads, we gonna love that. I love the great non-conference, even though Notre Dame isn't really a conference technically. Those good non-con games just does the soul justice. Okay, so so we're just going to go straight into the first team, Boston College. Boston College finished 3-9 last year, 2-6 in conference play. Nothing really great to talk about with Boston College. So this year, their starting quarterback, Phil Jacovic, I know he's he's an older guy for college football, transferred out. He's actually going to Pitt, so he's staying in the conference. Zay Flowers, shout out my Ravens. He's now drafted. He's a Raven. But they do get the transfer wide receiver from UCF, Ryan O'Keefe. That should be a nice little add-on if they can figure out the quarterback position. Ace, I'm going to have you talk a little bit about Boston College.
Yeah, like you said, they have a pretty good transfer wide receiver coming in. I'm really interested to see what their redshirt sophomore quarterback's going to do. I think his name's Emmett Morehead. He's completed 60% of his passes. Looks like he threw for over 1,200 yards, 10 to about 6 picks. But what really stands out to me about him is I remember watching them play Duke, and it was a pretty decent game by him. He's pretty accurate downfield, and he's kind of sneaky athletic. He's like one of those guys who got some wheels, put some field in front of him. He also led a comeback victory against NC State. I remember that. I think it was like a 1-point victory or something like that. So I think he has some good stuff,
Which is crazy considering how lopsided NC State was in Boston College.
Yeah, right.
But NC State problem was offense, and no lie. That problem last year was offense.
Yeah, and Boston College problem was definitely defense.
Yeah,
stuff right here. They were last in first downs and total offense. Last in yards per play. Well, that's offense wise, but they were also last in rush defense, last in rush offense, second to last in scoring defense, and they allowed 30 points per game. They're gonna have to clean all that up. But
Boston College was really like Zay Flowers a bust.
Yeah.
So
I don't see them winning much this season.
Me neither. We'll get into that. One more thing I would like to note that they did have the 57th overall recruiting class, which is not good. I mean, it's like middle of the pack, and like we both said, they were not good last year. So this doesn't really help too much with that. So now we'll start over the schedule. So I'm gonna name a game. We're gonna give you a prediction win loss, and we'll just run it down like that. Okay. Northern Illinois. I have this as a win for Boston College. Northern Illinois wasn't really that well last year. They dropped tremendously from that one team that I believe won the MAC 2 years ago, Rocky Lombardi. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go ahead and give Boston College that W.
Yeah, I agree. I can give them that W. First game of the season, probably a noon kickoff. They'll probably have the students out and everything. And they're playing at home. So, why not take them?
Second game, they then play at home again, Holy Cross. I have them winning winning against Holy Cross, Holy Cross, I believe, is the FCS school. They're not a bad FCS school by any means, but I mean, it's a difference in athletes between FCS and FBS. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Boston College.
Yeah, barring like a complete meltdown from them, yeah, it's definitely a win for them.
All right, and now we get into a little bit of the conference play. We have Florida State at home, which I think this is just going to be a disaster. I think Florida State easily takes the W. I'm sorry, Ace, I know, but I'm gonna give Florida State the W.
I'm not mad at that. I would give them the W as well, Florida State, but I would want to note that it's the red bandana game. So if there's any game that they're gonna have some energy, it's probably that one.
I feel you, but I'm way too high on Florida State to even let that be close. But I get it though, it's college.
Oh, for sure. I mean, you never know what can happen sometimes. But yeah, they're definitely taking that L for sure.
Then you go on the road, first road game against Louisville. And Louisville, we'll talk about that a little bit more, but Louisville now has a new head coach. Mm-hmm. So I got that also as an L, even though Malik, and we'll get into Louisville a little bit later. I just got it as an L to Louisville.
Yeah, I have it as an L as well. I think just a little more talent on the other side.
Okay, and now we have back at home against Virginia. And I was going back and forth with myself because I feel like this is a toss-up game. When I watch Boston College and Virginia, the games are really close, even sometimes when I think they shouldn't be close. I actually have them losing to Virginia.
I have this as a win for them, but like you said, I think it's a toss-up. My win is purely circumstantial on, how Virginia looks. We just don't know right now. They got a lot of new things going on, so we'll see.
Yeah, these both teams sport a lot of unknowns, so it's like we both said, it's a toss up. I just gave them an L. I'm sorry. All right, and then we go to at Army, which I give a W to because Army has fallen off tremendously from that 10-win team I think 2 years ago. Andre Carter is gone from Army, which was like their star linebacker. Army is normally like run heavy and option heavy, which I mean they can. If Boston College can really dig into the game plan and practice, they can try to contain the option. I'm gonna give this a W to Boston College.
Yeah, I give them a W in this as well. It's also kind of like going with the trend as well. I think BC won 6 of the last 7 against Army, so and like you said, it's definitely not the Army team of past that surprised everybody and came out and had a pretty good season. Those military service teams are hit and miss.
Yep. Usually. And then we go to Georgia Tech. They go on the road, back-to-back road games against Georgia Tech. I have this as a W, but again, this was a toss-up. I know Georgia Tech, I guess technically re-signed. He was an interim coach last year, and now he's officially the coach. And they actually had Georgia Tech playing well. But I'll get into what Georgia Tech lost later. I don't know. It's a toss up. I just gave Boston College the W. You get the momentum from the win against Army. Hopefully you can carry that over to get the W against Georgia Tech. And you got to win these games to have any life left in the season.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you on this being a toss up. I actually have a question mark beside it. I have it as an L for them, but a lot remains to be seen.
Then we go back home to UConn. And UConn actually played well last year. UConn actually got a lot of momentum last year. I think they even had a bowl game last year. So I got this as an L to UConn. UConn took a lot of teams by surprise last year. I think they can keep it up. I think they can ride the momentum. I think they get Boston College.
I gave them the W on the sole fact that it's a homecoming game for them. And they have a rivalry though, don't they? Like you would think, like kind of close teams.
Yeah.
It's not interstate, but I mean they're right
Close
there.
Enough.
Yeah, I would think that would be a big game for them, especially like you said, a nice non-conference game for them. Yeah, I mean, if they lost this game, I don't think it would be in the world. If they lost it, the season probably wasn't going that well anyway. But yeah,
I completely agree. All right, so then we go to at Syracuse, and Syracuse wasn't a bad team either last year. They were up and down, but they weren't a bad team. And for that, I have them losing at Syracuse.
Yeah, I have them losing at Syracuse as well. I think that's a pretty tough place to play sometimes, especially recently since they found a resurgence with football. So, yeah, I'm going to give them the L on that one.
All right, cool. And then we go back home to Virginia Tech. Another toss-up game. Didn't know which way to go, but I ended up giving them the L. I think maybe losing 2 games to UConn and Syracuse is late in the season. People might be starting to mail it in, getting ready for next year. I think it's an L.
Yeah, I think it's an L too. But yeah, I think like you said, around this time of the season, there's going to be a lot of factors to determine how that game's going to go.
Yep. And then we go at Pitt, which I give Pitt the W. I like Pat Narduzzi. Pat Narduzzi, shout out Michigan State defensive coordinator when we had those great years. He's actually doing a really good job at Pitt. Pitt has the coaching advantage. Pitt has actually some talent. So, like I said, they also got their quarterback now. Phil Dracovic is now at Pitt. I'm giving Pitt the W.
Yeah, Pitt's just a better program here. They develop their players better. They may not have elite talent everywhere, but as you see, they constantly pumping out people to the NFL. They're constantly winning these big games in the ACC. Actually, I think Pitt is probably the second winningest team in the last couple of years in the ACC behind Clemson. So,
hey, shoot, they made a New Year's Six Bowl 2 years ago. I mean, they lost some of my guys, but hey, I think Pickett didn't play, so they can hang on that.
He got hurt or something.
No, he sat out.
Got hurt. Yeah, he sat out.
And then the last game of the season is against the U. So I got the U winning. I have that also as an L. I have them going 4-8, 1-7 in ACC play. All right, Ace, the last game of the season. What you think?
Yeah, I definitely think they're going to take the L. Yeah, like I said, I think this would be one of those games where the talent that we have should shine, and hopefully, we ruin their senior day.
Yeah, man. Hey, look, I'm sorry, Boston College. It just looks like another bad year, in my opinion. Hopefully, years down the line, you can get a generational talent like a Keith Lee or Andre Williams to come back and help you.
Get a couple more Zay Flowers and maybe
a couple more guys. Sorry, so now we're gonna move on to Clemson. Clemson, great year last year, 11-2, 11-2 overall, 8-0 in ACC play. Lost the Orange Bowl to Tennessee in shocking fashion because I didn't expect Joe Milton to look that great in that game, and boy did Joe Milton look really good that game. So shout out to him. So they did lose DJ, and DJ. I'm so sorry if I mispronounced your name, bro.
Uyangalele.
They lost him to Oregon State. Will Shipley is a junior though, Ivan. That's like by far their best player.
Absolutely.
And they lost 6 guys to the draft, including Trenton Simpson. I think Brady Breeze, or not Brady Breeze. I'm sorry, that's the same. Brian Breeze. There we go. So they lost a lot, but Clemson is known for reloading. I'm gonna let you talk a little bit.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to see what Clemson is going to do. I definitely want to know where Cade Klubnik's development is, you know. Because when he came in, he did play pretty well. Not saying that he was perfect, but I mean, you know, I think he just needs to have the opportunity to go out there and show what he's got more. I have a question about their wide receiver group. You know,
sure.
I don't think there's any standouts for them. I don't think there has been in the last few years, actually.
I was just about to say the same thing. That's been a kind of an issue.
You know, O-line as well. And they've missed the playoff for the last 3 years. So do you think this is a year where they can, you know, turn it around and get back to where they were?
I don't think they made the playoffs this year. And it's a team that I believe that we'll talk about later down the line, which will prevent them from making the playoffs. But yeah, I'm in agreement with Cade Klubnik. Now, did Cade Klubnik come in and have Clemson lighten it up? No, he didn't. But they did look better with him over DJU. So I'm excited to see now he gets a full year under his belt, knowing that this is his team. He was actually, I think he was really recruited like heavily coming into Clemson. So
I believe so.
Now you get the keys. You got to show something. So they also bring in the 15th overall ranked recruiting class. So shout out to Clemson. They normally have a great recruiting class. That's what Sweeney has been doing these last couple of years.
Definitely.
You know, you got the energy, the BYOG, bring your own guts, Death Valley.
Yeah.
So
I will say one thing interesting about them, though. While they do recruit well, they don't necessarily take advantage of the transfer portal. And I think that's like going to be a distinct difference between them and Florida State this year. I want to see how that plays out.
Spoiled it, ladies and gentlemen. All right. State was definitely the team.
we knew what team we were talking about.
All right. So Clemson to start the year at Duke. I have this as a W. Shout out to Duke. I think Duke is actually a really good team, especially compared to these past years. Yeah. But I think just Clemson is just a better team. They're the the football program is more touted. This isn't basketball, so I got the W.
For sure, yeah. I definitely want to give them that W. Might be a hard-fought game though. You know, Duke is mildly talented team, pretty disciplined, well coached. You know,
for sure.
That combination, you know, who knows what can happen.
For sure. Then you have against Charleston Southern at home. That's a W. That's probably a blowout. That's one of the games you watch the first 2 drives and be like, all right, cool. I'm cutting this off.
That's probably a 70-pointer right there.
Yeah. So then you go on to FAU, which is another game. Hey, look, I'm gonna watch the first 2-3 drives, see how this offense look, and what else is on. So I got the W against FAU.
Yeah.
Then we get into Florida State at home, and this is where I think Clemson takes an L. I'm just so high on Florida State. I'll get into that a little bit later. I got Florida State taking a W.
See, this one is tough for me because I think that them playing at home was going to help them a fair amount, especially it being such a big game. I don't think Cade has been in any other. I think this is probably the biggest game he's played in for sure.
For sure.
Besides the bowl game. So I think maybe the people in Death Valley give him a little help, you know. Yeah, and if they can convert, 50% of their third downs like they did last year, who knows?
Yeah, so I agree with you saying, even though it's not a bowl game or nothing like that, I agree because this game can determine playoffs. This game can determine, all right, we win this game here, we finish out the rest of the schedule going undefeated, we're probably in no matter what. If we lose this game, we got to hope for Florida State to lose a game. We got to win the ACC championship. Hopefully we play them in the ACC championship.
But I will say this. I think if they even if they do lose this game, it's at the end of the world because one is so early in the season, and they don't have the divisions anymore, so they can still come out and run the table with everybody else and still end up in the ACC championship.
Yeah, I agree with that, but that's why I say like, hey, look, you got it. Yeah, you're right because if it's early, then a lot of dominoes can fall because you still got teams cannot show up, stuff like that. Yeah, so that's true, but you rather control your own destiny than worry about other people. So.
For sure. But then when I look at them, I look at their schedule and I just wonder like, where's that trap game at? Like so it's always one somewhere on there.
Oh, it's a trap game on there for sure. I don't know if they lose it, but it's a trap game, and I'm gonna get to it. You get at Syracuse after Florida State. I have Clemson beating Syracuse.
For sure beating Syracuse, probably blowing them out.
Yeah, even last year when I thought the game was be close and like, so then you get versus Wake Forest. I have that W easily, like another blowout game.
Yeah.
Then you play the U at Miami, which I don't think it'll be a blowout because in Miami, the heat, everything like that. But I do have Clemson coming away with the W. It might be, I wouldn't call it a 2-touchdown game a blowout. And then honestly, I wouldn't, even if Clemson wins by 3 touchdowns, I probably wouldn't call it a blowout against the U because I would expect more to call it a blowout, if that makes sense to anybody. I know normally if you look at a 21-point game, oh, it was a blowout. But depending on how the game was played, I probably wouldn't call it a blowout.
Yeah, I had that as a win for Clemson as well. A lot of that's going to depend on probably how Miami is doing that far in the season, which is going to determine how many people come out, which will determine if we got that home field advantage, which we will need desperately.
For sure. All right, then they go on the road to North Carolina State, which probably won't even feel like a road game. They're one state away. Probably more Clemson football fans than North Carolina State fans. So
probably
got that as a W.
Here's a good one right here.
All right. Now we got Notre Dame at home. And for the reason of it being at home in Death Valley, you touching the rock. Dabo Swinney's for sure going to have these guys ready. I have that as a W for Clemson.
I have that as a W as well. I think, revenge games, you can never understate them. I think they're going to come out and put their best foot forward against Notre Dame, especially a Notre Dame team that should be fairly competitive in the realm of making it to the playoff.
Yeah, I agree. Then you have Georgia Tech coming to the crib after Notre Dame. I think this is a blowout. I'm sorry, Georgia Tech. I know y'all been playing better under your new coach, but it's a blowout.
Yeah. And that playing better under the new coach is kind of like, he was interim. He finally got the keys. I mean, they were playing better, but
they went 4-4 under him in last year. So, hey, look, the Georgia Tech ain't been good since Justin Thomas and Darren Waller and DeAndre Smelton. So,
they'll take 4-4. Johnson, who knows?
They went to the ACC championship with Justin Thomas, man. So they lost, but
you're right. Yeah, you're right. They definitely did. Well,
so hey, they'll take 4-4. Shoot, they can't get wins with Jeff Sims and Jahmyr Gibbs, so they'll take 4-4.
Yeah, that's true.
So then we got UNC at home, so 3 straight home games, and I got, I love Drake May to death, but they gotta get this man a defense. So for that being said, I'm gonna go W against North Carolina.
I would go definitely W against North Carolina, but I'm not going to say that because of the defense. I don't know if they can keep Drake May not looking at the sky.
That's true too. Hey, look, I do agree with that. Hey, Clemson could put pressure on that boy early and often. So I agree. And then this is my trap game because they lost it last year.
Yeah.
And I was surprised.
Yeah.
And now we had the in-house in my little joke for South Carolina.
Yeah.
At South Carolina on the road, this could be a trap game, but I have them winning. I think Dabo's going to remember us beating them last year. I know he ain't like that feeling.
I mean, this is a rivalry game too. Let's not get that confused. I don't think they're going to sneak up on them. I think they're going to be very prepared. They're going to have a bad taste in their mouth. Same thing with Notre Dame. They're going to show that we are Clemson. You should still be scared of us.
Yep. So with that being said, I have Clemson finishing 11-1, 7-1 in ACC play, and I do have them going to the ACC championship. How'd you have them finishing?
I have them around 11-1 as well. I can't really tell you exactly where my loss is, but I can see them going 11-1 and definitely making it to the ACC championship.
Cool. So moving on, we have Duke. Shout out to Duke. Had a really great season last year, especially for Duke standards. 9-4, 5-3 ACC play. They won the Military Bowl against UCF. So shout out Duke. Riley Leonard comes back. He's a junior. They have the 68th overall recruiting class, which is middle of the pack, but I mean, it's Duke. So I'm not surprised. And
probably getting better.
So and they have their coach. So the returning guys, as far as statistics, isn't that great, but Riley Leonard, he helped Duke play really well. So as long as he can as long as he can match what he did last year, I think Duke is going to be pretty all right.
I agree. They got the returning coach of the year, Mike Elko. They got 17 starters coming back. They got a stud left tackle to protect Riley. I think they'll be pretty good. They allowed the least sacks in the ACC. I think they allowed the least third down conversions in the ACC as well. So I mean, as long as they can keep that stuff up, I mean, like I said earlier, they're disciplined, they're well coached. I mean, they should come out here with a good amount of wins.
Yeah, shout out Mike Elko because I don't remember the last time Duke has been 9-4, anything close. Like I remember Thomas Sirk was my guy quarterback a couple years ago. And he had them playing well, but I don't remember them even being 9-4. They might have been like
no, they definitely were 9-4. I think this was their best had in a very long time.
Yeah, so
but
shout out him.
They have a tough schedule this year though, so they're not sneaking up on anybody. They're gonna have to really prove it.
Yep, and like we said, the first game of the season is going to be against Clemson. I already explained we both have that as an L. So we'll go to the next game, which is against University of Lafayette. I think that's a W. I think that's a nice bounce back game, perfectly placed. Go ahead.
Definitely a bounce back game for them. They probably win that. I mean, who knows? It might be a tough game. Are they in like the Sun Belt or something like that? Those teams can.
Nah, I think you're thinking of Louisiana Lafayette. The Raising Cajun.
Regular Lafayette.
It's not Louisiana. It's not. Yeah, it's not them.
Yeah, well, either way.
If it's Raising Cajun, I might have had a different spill on that because I mess with them. Shout out to Sun Belt.
Right.
Sun Belt actually is a pretty good conference, man.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, they could sneak up on them, but I mean, yeah,
I think they need some more respect in the college football world for sure. Northwestern, the next game is against Northwestern. And I think they win this game at Northwestern. All the turmoil at Northwestern, Pat Fitzgerald just got fired. We don't know what's really going on there. It's just a mess there. So I think they get that W.
Yeah, that program's in the free fall right now. I doubt there's any way that they're going to be competitive this year. Not that they were competitive last year.
Yeah. I'm about to say they're already not really good as a program. Now that this happens, man, look. Sorry, Northwestern, but then you got at UConn. I have this as a W. You get 2 tune-up games, basically, in my opinion, to get ready for a pretty, like I said, FCS school, but they're not bad FCS school. They actually had a lot of momentum late last year, made a bowl game. So, I mean, not FCS. I think Clemson is. I mean, not FCS.
No, Connecticut is FCS.
I think they're FBS. I think they are FBS.
They're American Conference now.
Yeah, I'm about to say. I think they weren't they independent last year and they moved. So
like that.
Yeah, so shout out UConn again, but I think this is a W.
Yeah, I think it's a W as well, even though UConn is going to be at home. Only way I can see Duke stumbling is if they're looking ahead to the next week.
Exactly, which glad you brought that up. Next week is Notre Dame, so UConn could for sure be a look-ahead game. But I have them losing to Notre Dame. Notre Dame had a stout defense last year, needed help offensively. I mean, a lot, but they had a stud running back. But yeah, I think Notre Dame defense is going to be a little too much for Duke.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is where the talent difference comes into play. It should be a competitive game, though. I don't think it'll be a blowout or anything like that.
I got it one of those where it gets ugly late. So Duke stays competitive, probably like midway through the third, and then it kind of gets ugly. Then you have kind of like an in-state rival with NC State. It's not North Carolina, but it's pretty close.
Yeah.
I have this as a W. NC State issue was offense. So they boasted a pretty decent defense, but you got to be able to score. And I don't know if they can score with them. And that's kind of a little preview into my NC State segment.
Yeah, I share the same sentiments about NC State. Definitely not sold on their offense. I'm definitely not sold on them, period. I think
me neither.
They're just they had they had their time a couple years ago, but they never really impressed me much.
Yeah, that was what Bradley Chubb and them when they started coming out. Yeah. Florida State is next at Florida State. I have this as an L. They're in Tallahassee. Tallahassee is going to be rocking. They're not, like you said, Duke is not sneaking up on anybody this year, so Florida State will be well prepared. Give me the Florida State taking the W.
Yeah, I'll take the nose on this one. Like you said, just too much stacked against them.
Yep. And then after Florida State, we go on the road again to Louisville. I actually have them winning at Louisville. Louisville, I have a lot of questions about Louisville. I know they had a guy that played a little bit while Malik was there, but it's just so much. New head coach. What are they going to do offensively? Are they still going to be like a RPO team? I don't know. So I'll take Duke.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm taking Duke as well, man. I just don't really know what to expect from Louisville right now. I know people are high on them, for some reason. I think people want them to be good, but
Yeah.
We'll see if that actually translates to the field.
I mean, Louisville did produce Teddy and Lamar, so they just probably want the lineage to keep going because Malik Cunningham, hopefully you do well with the Patriots. He's there now. So I think people just want Louisville to have a dynamic quarterback. We gotten so used to
no
it.
doubt that they have talent. They definitely have talent, but they lost a lot of that production too,
Yeah.
So who knows?
So from there, we have Wake Forest. I have this as a W. I think Wake Forest is going to take a lot of L's this year. So give me Duke in that game.
Yeah, I agree with you for the exact same reasons.
All right, then we go at North Carolina, big rivalry game. But I do have Duke taking the L to North Carolina. And as for what I said earlier, shout out Drake May. I think Drake May, it's going to be a shootout for sure. I think last year was a shootout. So I think they just lose a shootout.
I am iffy on this one. I wanna give North Carolina the W, but again, it's late in the season, and I all I can think of to last year, North Carolina losing like 4 straight, crumbling at the end. So not to say that that's what they'll do again this year, but I can't unsee it right now.
See, I feel you, but this is a rivalry game. I think North Carolina gonna be amped for this, especially it's a shootout. Offense is gonna be excited, so I think they'll be up for this one.
Yeah, and it'll be in their house. So
yeah. Then we have at Virginia, which I'm not high on Virginia, so I got Duke taking a W.
Yeah, I think Virginia is definitely in the rebuild, so I'll give Duke W on that one.
And lastly, at the end of the season, we have Pitt, and I think Duke takes the L to Pitt. Again, Pitt's become a great program of late. I think Pitt just wins the game.
Yeah, I hate to feel like I'm piggybacking on everything, but yeah, I give them the L on that one as well. You can't get, man, Narduzzi.
All right, cool. I just wanted to say something about that real quick. Hey, look, when it comes to sports, me and Ace be here. It's just real. We got rivals, so rivalry be the only thing that be really
we like this on everything except the team.
All right, so moving on from Duke, we have Florida State. Shout out the Noles. I know you don't like me saying that, but I gotta give everybody their shout outs. The Noles went 9-3, 5-3 in ACC play. The won the Cheez-It Bowl against Oklahoma against Brett Venables. So again, shout out the Noles. Jordan Travis returns for what's looked to be a lot of hype is around Florida State. A lot of hype is around Tallahassee. Normally, when that happens, teams fold, but I don't think that'll happen this year. Keon Coleman, they stole my dog. It hurt. They stole my dog.
Oh, yeah.
Keon Coleman transfers in the wide receiver. Johnny Wilson has a lot to prove, 6'7" guy, but they say his hands, and I ain't gonna lie, his hands is iffy. Can't even lie on that. And Jared Verse returns. Jared Verse was a highly touted DN from Albany. Transferred in, had a great year last year. I think he got hurt though. So, but
he did get hurt, but he came back. Probably the best player in the ACC.
Man, hey, look, if we're not talking quarterbacks for sure. And then I also wanted to give a shout out to the cornerback Ronaldo Green. I like Ronaldo Green. He's a nice little cover guy. He's not afraid to hit you. So shout out Ronaldo. Just a little bit about. I know you don't want to say too much about him because he's your rival.
Well, actually, I have a lot to say about them. I think that this team is stacked. They are scary. I can't lie to you. Like I said earlier about Clemson, they took advantage of the unlike Clemson, they took advantage of the transfer portal. They got Fentrell Cypress coming from UVA, shutdown corner. Having him on the outside is going to help them a lot, especially once you compound that with that crazy pass rush that they already got. Jaheim Bell coming in from, I want to say, South Carolina. Is that where he came from?
I think so. Don't fact check us. Just fact check us.
Yeah, I believe he's from South Carolina.
But yeah, dude, so your point with Cephas and Ronaldo, that should be tough defensively.
Yeah, he came from South Carolina. And like you said, Johnny Wilson's a dog. Jared Verse is a dog. Jordan Travis could be in the Heisman conversation depending on how the season goes. They have a solid running back, man. It's really not too much you can say about Florida State. They were second in scoring offense last year, second in offensive and defensive efficiency. If they can keep the teams rolling, I mean, it's no reason that they're not in the ACC championship or the college football playoff.
I for sure have them in the ACC championship for sure. So with all that being said, and they still boasted the 16th overall recruiting class. So let's get into the schedule. They got the run back with LSU. Last year was a great game to start college football. It came down. Jaden Daniels laid him down to score, but the extra point was blocked, I believe, by Jared Verse, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so great game. I'm looking forward to the rematch. A neutral site, and I have them winning again.
I have them losing this game, but it's not really because I don't think that they can win. I just think that LSU probably going to want to come out and build on that momentum that they had at the end of the season last year. You know, they got the quarterback coming back as well, so I think they'll be in a better shape going into this game this time than they were last time.
Yeah, the only thing about LSU, man, and I was so high on Jalen Daniels, but man, I'm starting to sell my stock on him.
Oh yeah,
I'm not gonna lie, man. It's just,
I never thought he was like a great quarterback. I always thought he was a good athlete. He can get the job done, but he's not. I don't think he's like NFL quality.
Man, talent. The thing with me, I just fell in love with that freshman year. And I couldn't let it go, but it's time to let it go.
It's hard. It's hard because you look back at Arizona State year. It was crazy.
Yeah, I think it's about that time for me to let it go. But moving on, we got Southern Miss next. I think that's a blowout W. Shout out Frank Gore Jr. But yeah, I think this is an easy W.
Yeah, they getting them out the way easy, especially at Doak Campbell.
Yeah, so then we go at Boston College. Again, we're both on Boston College. I think there's a W here as well.
Definitely, they're getting them out of there.
All right, then we go at Clemson. I have it as a W again. I think you had it as a toss-up, correct?
Yeah, this is a toss-up for me, but I think if they lose, I don't think they lose both. They either lose to LSU or they lose to Clemson. I don't see them losing.
That's respectable. Then we got at home against Virginia Tech, W.
Yeah, especially coming off a bye week, they should be good.
Yep. And then we got Syracuse, another W.
W at home for sure.
I have Duke, another W as explained earlier.
Yep, and their homecoming game, they should come out and show out.
Yep. And then we have at Wake Forest, W.
Yeah.
At Pitt, that's another W. In my opinion, shout out Pitt, but I just think Florida State is going to be a little too much.
Yeah, it may be a tough game for them, but yeah, it should be a W.
Yep. Then we have at home versus the U, which sometimes these games, it don't matter. It's close, but I don't think so this year. I think Florida State gets the U out of the way.
Yeah. Especially coming off of how they beat us last year, they may just, I don't know. They'll probably win though.
All right. Then we got University of Northern Alabama with a W. This isn't Alabama. This is Northern Alabama
right now. Yeah.
And then last game of the season at Florida in the swamp. I think the game is going to be tough because it's in the swamp. Shout out Billy Napier, but I have this as a W as well.
Yeah, I think they can easily go into the swamp and do their thing. I think it'll be a competitive game, but in the end, they'll probably have so much more to play for than Florida.
Yeah, for sure. I think, well, if they do what I do at 11-0, you for sure want to win this game. 12-0, I think that almost guarantees you a
spot. Yeah, guarantees you a spot. Even if you lose the ACC championship, yeah, you may still get in there.
Yep. So with that being said, I have Florida State at 12-0, 8-0 in the ACC play, going against Clemson in the ACC championship.
Yeah, I have them at 11-1 or 12-0 going into the ACC championship and probably winning.
Yep. All right, cool. So now we're going to Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech finished the season last year at 5-7, 4-4 in ACC play. Again, shout out the coach. I think it's Brent Key or something like that. Yeah, he's now officially the head coach of Georgia Tech. So shout out him. Good luck to the season. With that being said, they lost Jeff Sims to Nebraska. Shout out Mount Rule, who got the new. I called that coach a hire, by the way. So shout out me. I definitely called it. They gained Haynes King from Texas A&M, who has a lot to prove. He didn't look all that great at Texas A&M. And they lost Keon White to the draft. Shout out, he's a great DM prospect. So they got those two spots. Well, one game, but one loss. So we'll get to see what Georgia Tech has there. And they also bolstered the 64th overall recruiting class. Ace, go ahead and tell me a little something about Georgia Tech.
Well, I think Georgia Tech has a lot of work to do. I think like any team that has a new coach, they're just going through probably a culture change. That shift takes a little while. coming off a season, they were, I think, last in third down conversions, completing only about 30% of them. Last in rushing defense and passing offense, and second to last in scoring offense. So they probably did a complete overhaul of their offense for this season. Hopefully it'll be the Haynes King benefit, but like you said, he has a lot to show, well, a lot to prove rather. And I don't know if they really get much done this year. They're probably not going to be a bowl team. But they can be competitive for sure. We saw that at the end of last season, so I'm sure they'll at least have that fire.
Yeah, I think they'll be a scrappy group that they'll lose a lot of games, but they'll be in some of them. So I'm not going to say I'm excited for Georgia Tech. Like you said, I know it's a lot of work to be done. Georgia Tech's not one of them programs where you'll flip the switch overnight. They're going to need some work. I just hope the AD and everything gives bro the time to put that work in to try to change the culture.
One thing's for sure is they can probably get somebody. They're one of those teams that, depending on where they at in your schedule, you might overlook them and, they can get you that way. Or, if you got people at the end of the season trying to transfer out and all that, they can get you that way. It kind of just depends. But
yeah, I remember one game
specifically. That's for sure.
I remember one game specifically against North Carolina.
Oh, yeah.
Jeff Sims scored that touchdown, rolled my parlay at the end of the game. It was so unnecessary. So unnecessary.
Hey, man. But always the garbage time.
All right, so on to the schedule. We got a neutral site game against Louisville. I have this as an L.
Yeah, that's definitely an L. But I mean, who knows? If they can come out and it's a neutral site game, but it is in Georgia. And they are in Atlanta, so it could essentially be a home game for them, depending on how the fans come out. So
and both teams are so questionable coming into the game. So I mean, I have it as an L, but who knows?
I have it as an L too, but I would like to acknowledge that anything can happen.
that is very true. That's why I said, hey, both teams are so questionable.
Yeah.
So then we have South Carolina State, which I think is a W. South Carolina State is for sure FCS school. So
yeah, for sure FCS. I think I want to say HBCU if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So, and I don't mean to put FCS schools down because I know that North Dakota State, South Dakota State haven't. These are just not them. That's all.
Yeah. Those teams are they recruit differently too. It's usually like the cold weather teams in the FCS ones that are the tough ones, and everybody else is just everybody else.
Yeah, like if this was Sacramento State, I'm like, oh shoot, Sacramento State might get them. Like, I feel you, but so don't kill me in the comments. Don't kill me in the comments because I keep saying it's FCS school. I acknowledge it as I know the good ones. I know the ones that could give people some go for sure.
Yeah. Those are the ones that rarely pop up on somebody's schedule.
Yeah, they ain't trying to pay and lose.
No, right. No. How would you pay?
So then we go to Ole Miss. I have this as an L for sure. Ole Miss. This might be a game at halftime you switch it.
Especially at Oxford, they should go in there and handle business.
Yep. And then we have at Wake Forest. And I think this is a toss-up, but unfortunately, since they're on the road, I gave Wake Forest the win.
Yeah, I did too. Only because they're on the road.
Yep. So then we have versus Bowling Green. Now, Bowling Green isn't a bad team. And to be honest with you, this is a toss-up, in my opinion. Again, shout out to Mac. But I gave them the W. I think this is probably a game where the coach gets them to try to turn the season around, or at least we, get them ready. Like, all right, cool. We lost right here. 1-3. We're 1-3. This game could define us. Let's not lose this game to a MAC school. I think they'll have his players ready for this one.
Yeah, I think you said that perfectly. Maction is never a slouch. I'm not that knowledgeable in Bowling Green. I don't know certain players or anything, but like you said, you can never look past a team from the MAC because they always play hard, and they generally tough teams. No matter where they play. But like you said, for the very same reasons, they're going in there at 1-3. They need a win in order to keep their season from derailing. Yeah, they'll probably come out with a win at that.
Yeah, shout out Tuesday and Wednesday night action because y'all give me something to watch. Y'all give me football almost every day a week, so I appreciate y'all for that. Then we got the U, Miami versus Georgia Tech at the U. So I gave Miami the win, Georgia Tech the loss.
Yeah, I would definitely give us the win on that one. We usually handle business against Georgia Tech. They get us every now and again, but it's usually a team that we could put them in our pocket and just go on about our day.
Nah, I feel you. put them in our pocket is a crazy way to put that. I feel you. Then we got at home against Boston College. I already explained earlier. I have Boston College taking that one.
Yeah, so, I have a question mark beside that one, but I do have Georgia Tech coming out with a win.
Yep. So then we have versus UNC at home. I think UNC wins this game.
Yes, UNC ruins their homecoming.
Yes, sir. And then we have at UVA, which I think they actually get the W in Charlottesville.
I think they get the W as well. I think they are. If you look at these teams talent wise, Georgia Tech may have a little more.
Yep. And I think this is the one game where if you put it on the schedule, like, look, we can actually win an ACC game. I think they'll be up for that one. Then we have at Clemson, which, sorry to ruin y'all W. I have this as an L.
Yeah. Clemson is getting them out the way. They're in Clemson's pocket as well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So then we have at home versus Syracuse, and I have Syracuse taking the W as well.
Yeah, I have them taking the W as well, but I feel like for some reason this is one of those games that could go either way.
Go back and forth. Hey, look, I've seen Syracuse in the game go back and forth. I think they ended up losing to Virginia last year, so I mean, look, it can happen.
When you think of Syracuse, you think of just how inconsistent they were last year. Like one point, really good. It was like, oh, Syracuse is it's an actual team, and then it's like, oh, no, they're not.
Yeah, like the game against Purdue, where they won the game against Purdue.
Yeah, exactly. And that was a great game. That was a super exciting game. But yeah, they can't afford to have too many like that.
Nope. And then last game of the schedule, sorry, Georgia Tech. I know there's a rivalry. I know y'all don't want to play this game, but I gotta play Georgia, which is gonna be an L. Sorry.
Yeah. I wonder who gets beat worse, Georgia Tech versus Georgia or us versus Florida State.
I'm gonna go with Georgia Tech versus Georgia.
I would think so.
All right. So that puts Georgia Tech at 3-9, dropping 2 games from last year and 1-7 in the ACC. But like I said, hopefully Brent Key gets more time. I hope they don't look at that and go, well, look, there's a decline. We're going to get you up out of here. Just give him some time. Let's see what he can do.
Yeah, I think this would be a scrappy team. I do have them about 4-8.
All right, on to Louisville. Louisville 7-5 again. Shout out Malik Cunningham. And shout out Scott Satterfield, man. Did your thing while you were there. Went 4-4 in ACC. Won the Fenway Bowl versus Cincinnati. Like I said earlier, new head coach is Jeff Brom from Purdue.
On to his alma mater at that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's why he took it. It shocked me until I found out that's where he went to school and everything. So then I was like, oh, okay, it makes sense.
Right.
Jawad Jordan, junior running back, returns. They lost Tyler Hudson to the Rams. I think that was his leading receiver. I mean, Malik Cunningham didn't throw for many yards, but he did so much through the air and on the ground. He's so dynamic. So they also have 3 quarterback transfers. Brady Allen, I think he was from Arkansas. I might be getting him confused because it's another Allen that played at Arkansas. And I might be confusing the two. I do it all the time. Then they got Harrison Bailey, transfer from UNLV. And they got Jack Plummer, the transfer from Cal. I actually like Jack Plummer. I don't know if they announced the starter, but if they will, I think it'll be him. I think Jack Plummer probably will fit more of Jeff Brom's style anyway.
I think he has a relationship with Jeff Brom, if I'm not mistaken.
He probably maybe. I'm not sure. But
I want to say he was at Purdue, and I think he's like a 2-type transfer.
I will have to fact check that, but I'm not sure. I just remember him at Cal for sure, though. 24th overall ranked recruiting class was actually really good for Louisville. Ace, tell me a little something about Louisville.
Well, I know Louisville lost a lot of production from the draft and graduations and things like that. But Louisville is always like pretty solid. I believe they led the ACC in sacks last year. They were second in interceptions, so that says a lot about their defense. They have about 6 defensive starters back, so that should help them keep that momentum going. Like you said, I think Jack Plummer is a great addition for them and probably may win the starting job, I would think. And Jeff Brom, I think of Purdue's offense from last year. He's an offensive coach, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I think
Aiden O'Connell.
Yeah, exactly. I think how Aiden played, and they definitely could put up points when they had the opportunity. So I think it could lead to an explosive offense with them if they have a solid defense behind them. Who knows?
And that's one thing I forgot to point out, that honestly, with Malik Cunningham and that dynamic offense, their defense was actually really strong last year. Like, I remember watching the UCF game, and I was waiting for the points explosion, and just didn't get them. Louisville defense was stout the entire game. Louisville actually had a really good defense, to your point. So I'm glad you brought that up because I definitely forgot to mention that. So let's on to the schedule. They play Georgia Tech. We just went over that. That's a W for Louisville. Next they play Murray State, which Murray State isn't a bad FCS school, but they're not good enough to hang with Louisville, in my opinion. So I have them taking that W.
Especially not at home. They should take that W for sure.
Yep. Then they play Indiana. Indiana is a Big Ten team. I'm a Big Ten fan, but Indiana I don't think they're good enough to beat Louisville. They actually had a really bad year last year, so I'll take Louisville in that one.
I'll take Louisville in that one as well. I don't think Indiana is that good of a team.
Neither. All right, cool. And then so on to ACC play, where they start with Boston College. As explained previously, we have Louisville taking a W. Then they play at NC State. I think this is Louisville's first loss of the season, only because NC State's defense, they normally have a really good defense. So I'm going to go NC State. I think this might be a defensive struggle.
I agree. I think a low-scoring game, whoever controls the ball best will come out as the winner in that one, but I do have them as an L as well.
Then we're on to Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame takes this one pretty easily. So I'm going to give Louisville the L on this one.
Yeah, Notre Dame should handle business.
All right, then we're on the road to Pitt. I think Pitt takes this W, as for the reasons presented earlier.
I agree. I just think Pitt is a stronger program. They should be able to do what they have to do.
All right, then we have Duke, and I think with this 3-game losing streak, I think it extends. I think Duke gets them. I think Louisville may be feeling bad about how the season went. They could look at their opponents and be like, well, we did play 3 really talented teams. NC State's questionable there, but I'll say 2 in a possible talented teams. And then, like, maybe we could turn it around against this Duke team. But Duke, like you said, is well coached. I think they edge out the W.
Yeah. The funny thing is, I was actually going back and forth between these 2 games because I originally had them winning against Pitt, but yeah, I think they may beat Duke. I think this is maybe one of those times where I think I get the vibe that Louisville is going to be one of those teams that wins games that they shouldn't and loses games that they should. I mean, wins games that they shouldn't and loses games that they should.
Yeah. I got you. And I mean, to be honest, I think, like I said, I think Duke edges out Louisville, but I wouldn't be shocked if Louisville beat Duke. So I'm there. Virginia Tech is next at home. I think they beat Virginia Tech.
Yeah, they should. They should.
Then they play Virginia. I think they also beat Virginia. UVA just looking like, UVA now. UVA had a resurgence for like a year or 2, and now it's looking like it's coming back down.
Yeah, they're in the dumpster right now. They're definitely taking the L.
All right, then after that, they play at the U. I think the U gets this one at home. All the factors. I think the U takes it.
And
my bad.
No, I agree. Even if it's late November, we should definitely be super geared up and ready to play them.
And then lastly, they play Kentucky, which, man, Kentucky's head coach just always has Kentucky ready. Mm-hmm. Kentucky always has a great defense. Now, Kentucky's transfer quarterback is Devin Leary, so I don't know how this offense is going to look. But what I will say is Devin Leary fit what they had 2 years prior with Will Levis. So
yeah, but he is 11S, that's for sure.
So I'm gonna give Kentucky the W.
Yeah, I think Louisville takes the L on this one. I think that's when the SEC bump,
Yeah.
So,
Yep. So overall, I have Louisville as a bowl team. I have them as a bowl team at 6-6, 4-4 in ACC play. AC, what you got?
Yeah, I actually have them around 6-6, maybe 7-5 if they get lucky.
Yes, sir. Which makes them bowl eligible. So Jeff Brom, if he can take them to a bowl as a first-year head coach there, I think that's a really good start. Considering, like you said, the production they lost. They lost Malik Cunningham, who broke like Lamar Jackson's touchdown record, not passing, but just in total touchdown record. So that'd be still really good.
You got to think they're not playing Florida State, they're not playing Clemson, they're not playing North Carolina. They got a pretty.
Yeah, they do have a really light. They definitely have it really light. Even a non-con schedule is pretty light. So.
Definitely.
So on to the U. The U 5-7 last year. Should have been a bowl team, but one game ruined it all, and we all know that one game. 3-5 in ACC play. I'm gonna let you say a lot about your boys.
All right. Well, I will say this. Of course, last season was a disaster to say the least. We definitely can't have another season like that. Granted, I think Mario Cristobal is turning it around. We're recruiting very well now. We're getting really good talent out of the transfer portal. What I'm most excited for us this year is to see how Tyler Van Dyke develops in the new offense with Shannon Dawson coming from Houston. I think putting that air raid offense in will definitely give our athletes the opportunity to make the plays and give them the space to do that. You know, because when I think back, Josh Gaddis, it was just I don't think we were a tough enough team to do what he wanted to do, and we just we're just more finesse it seems. So I do like that. We got a nice recruit coming from Alabama. What's his name? Javion Cohen. He's a stud. I think we got 2 5-star recruits on the line, so that should definitely give us some much needed help so we can run the ball consistently, because that was basically our biggest problem last year, if I could think of one.
I mean, obviously he was going to separate either. So that was another.
That's another thing. But again, I'm hoping the air raid and the new schemes and everything will help give the receiver some time to step up. We'll need guys like Jacoby George to step up. Will Mallory is gone to the draft, so I can't remember the guy that was behind him. I think his last name is Arroyo or something like that. But he's a pretty decent athlete, so we're going to need him to stay healthy and be out. But what I'm most excited for is probably our defense. I think we probably have the best safety tandem in the ACC, if not the country, with James Williams and Cam Kitchens, who was, I think, all ACC and maybe a preseason All-American, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
We got Leonard Taylor coming back on the line. We got Mesidor on the edge, still rushing people. Our linebackers should be taking another step this year after their first year starting last year. And can't overlook new defensive coordinator Lance Guidry coming from Marshall. Top 5 defense in key categories.
I was about to say, I messed with Marshall.
Top 5 in third down defense, top 5 in stop rate, top 5 in pass efficiency defense, top 5 in defensive efficiency, period. Top 5 in yards per play, turnovers, rushing defense, you name it. I think he's going to give us a lot of guidance that those guys need.
All right. So pretty much the only thing I got different, the only thing that I have that you didn't say was that y'all leading rusher Henry Parrish returned. So shout out him. Yeah. And like you said, this is Mario Cristobal's second year. I do think he is also turning it around. I mean, the Middle Tennessee State loss was pretty bad. Again, that was the one game that prevented y'all from going to be a bowl team. But to be honest, I'm not gonna lie. I want to see y'all in a bowl game. I don't think that y'all were ready to be a bowl team.
Not last year, not at all.
Yeah. So it was like a blessing in disguise for y'all. So we'll get it.
I'm sorry, not to cut you off, but and another thing, we have to stop the turnovers. I got an interesting little tidbit for you right here. When we have multiple turnovers, we're 0-6. When we don't, we're 5-1. So that should tell you the story right there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And to speak on the recruiting class, y'all had the 8th ranked recruiting class in the country. So y'all did a great job in recruiting. So hats off to the youth for that. So we'll start the schedule. The first game of the season is against Miami of Ohio, Battle of the Miamis. I have this as a W. I know Miami of Ohio is a pretty decent MAC team, but I have you taking that.
Yeah, I have us taking that as well. We should go in there and just handle business.
All right, then we have Texas A&M, which I have this as a loss. Again, SEC school. I think the SEC bump was just a little too much.
Yeah, I don't want to say it's an L. My heart is saying it's a win for sure. My heart says all these a win. Let me just say that for the record.
Respect.
But yeah, I'm not too sure. I think that because we had a great chance at winning that game last year. It's just we just kind of lost focus and everything kind of crumbled after that. It's like we couldn't get past the mental errors. Hopefully that's something that we've been working on this offseason. And if that is something we can overcome, that I think we can come out there with a win, but it's iffy for sure.
Jimbo yeah. I remember that game being close, and I didn't expect it to be close at all. So I mean, y'all do have
I mean, the final score doesn't really indicate how tough of the game it was played, because after a while they did kind of like get away from us. But yeah, they can come and play for sure. But I'll say we're 1-1.
All right, cool. And then I think a great bounce back game. Bethune-Cookman should be a W for sure.
Yeah, that should be a 70-pointer right there.
Yep. And then at Temple, which Temple had its run, but I think Temple's run is over, no pun intended to the game. I have a W for Miami.
Yeah, I think we can outclass Temple. So we should go in there and get a W.
Okay, next is Georgia Tech, which we both said that's a W against Georgia Tech. So we'll go on to UNC, which UNC was actually a close game last year, 27-24. Can't remember if that game went to OT or not, but UNC definitely squeezed out the W. But I'm going to go with UNC winning again.
I can definitely see that happening. I think that just may be one of the games where, if we don't win the turnover margin, we probably won't win that game. Because I think we can get to Drake May. I don't think that's really an issue, but I am concerned with, our offense doing what they're supposed to, especially against the offense of UNC's caliber.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, we still don't know what Tyler Van Dyke has matured into, so that's still in the air. So we know what Drake May is. We don't really know what Tyler Van Dyke is. So that's why I got that as a W for UNC. Then they play Clemson at home. I have this also as an L against Clemson.
Yeah, I have this as an L, but I'm hoping that we come out and we are competitive. As long as we come out and we play competitively, I think we can at least have a chance to maybe, scare them.
All right. And then we got another home game against Virginia. I have this. Oh, hold on. Why did I do that? Oops, my bad. I wrote L. I was supposed to be a W. So my apologies there. I have that as a W against Virginia.
Yeah, we have to make up for that game last year. It was so sloppy. It was horrible. We really should have lost that game. It was insane how bad we looked. But we definitely need to come out and prove that we're the better team this time around.
Yeah, I don't know why I wrote that. And then we have at North Carolina State again. So if you're on North Carolina State offense, and with that being said, I'm gonna give Miami the W on that one.
Yeah, I don't think North Carolina State should be able to keep up with us. So,
all right, then we go to Tallahassee against Florida State, rivalry game. But I have y'all taking this L.
Yeah, I would say it's an L, but I don't like Florida State, so
yeah, I'm about to say I ain't gonna make you speak too much on it. I already know, bro. I already know it hurt you enough to say that y'all was gonna lose, so just keep pushing. All right, so then we have our senior day against Louisville, and I have this as a W.
Yeah, I think this should be a W. The guys should come out sharp. We got a fair amount of seniors this year, so I think those guys will look forward to this one.
And last game of the season at Boston College, I have this as a W on that, like we was explaining earlier. So I have a correction on my notes. My notes, I have Miami going 8-4, 8-4, 5-3 ACC play, which is 3-game improvement from last year.
Yeah, I see us going about 8-4 as well. 9-3 in my perfect world.
Man, hey, cut that 9-3 out, bro. I'm sorry. All right, moving on to North Carolina, who was the ACC runner-up last year. 9-4 in overall play, 6-2 in ACC play. Drake May is now a redshirt sophomore or a junior, depending on how you want to look at it, really redshirt sophomore in football terms. They lost Josh Downs to the draft. They lost Antoine Green to the draft, top 2 receivers. But Drake May is so good, in my opinion, it won't matter. They have the 28th overall recruiting class. Mac Brown is the head coach. Mac Brown has pedigree. So, Ace, tell me a little something about North Carolina.
Well, you mentioned them losing Josh Downs, but they did gain Devontae Walker from Kent State, who is a dog.
Oof, yeah, I forgot to write down my notes.
So I think they'll be pretty good. Drake May will not have a problem throwing it to him. I know that for sure. Like I said earlier, my main concern with them is, can they protect Drake May? Giving up 40 sacks last year is pretty much unacceptable for a team that relies so much on their quarterback.
Yes, sir.
Also, they're near the bottom in nearly every defensive category.
That's my main concern. That defense is trash.
So,
they were in the shootout with App State last year. And oh, my God.
I mean, if they can average 50 points, they'll beat everybody, But, can they do that? And I actually found a nice little tidbit that I think explains UNC as a team. They are 9-0 and Drake May completes over 63% of his passes. Anything under that, they're 0-5.
Makes sense. Man, they're heavily relying on Drake May. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's to say, you put him on his back. What can he do?
Yeah, it's ridiculous how reliant they are on Drake May. Like, but moving on to the schedule, we have a great first game neutral site, I believe, in Charlotte, which is neutral because South Carolina isn't that far off. Columbia's not that far. I have South Carolina taking a W, no bias. I just think our defense will, like you say, be able to get the Drake May. Spencer Rattler returns. Spencer Rattler actually had a pretty good ending to the season, to be honest. So
yeah,
I'm gonna take
good.
South Carolina.
Yeah, Spencer Rattler was getting back to that Oklahoma form that we saw him in. So yeah, I definitely give you guys that win as well. I don't think UNC has enough to beat South Carolina.
Yeah, shout out to the Duke's Mayo Bowl where Sam Howell got outplayed by a running back playing quarterback. South Carolina versus North Carolina. Then we move on to App State. I think this is another W against App State. I think App State lost a lot. I mean, App State's a really good Sun Belt team, always near the top of the Sun Belt. It was a crazy shootout last year at App State. And North Carolina wins this.
Ridiculous. Yeah, North Carolina is definitely not losing to them twice. That would be super embarrassing.
I think they got the W last year.
They did. I thought they lost.
No, I think they squeaked
it
out.
Because that was the first game of the season, right? It was like they barely won.
Yeah, they squeaked it out.
App State won the next game. Yeah. But yeah, UNC wins. Hopefully, it's not under the same circumstances, but
yeah, for sure. I mean, as a fan of the sport, I would love it. Bring it on.
Hey, but I mean, it was great to watch. Sure, I'll give you. It was a hilarious game, but
nah. This season, I hope not. Then we have Minnesota. Minnesota is kind of going through some turmoil. PJ Fleck got a little spectacle of dirt on his name. It's not as bad as Northwestern. I think PJ can actually, if not true, I think he can prove it easily. But I still have them beating Minnesota. Minnesota lost Ibrahim Muhammad, who's quite clearly the best player on the team. So give me North Carolina.
Yeah, I don't know how they're going to replace him as far as production, and I think just adding fire to that team, So yeah, I definitely see UNC winning that game.
All right, and then we go at Pitt, which is going to be a great game. But I have UNC edging out the W.
This is one I can see Pitt winning. I think this is one of those ones where this is Pitt at home too, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this is just one of those ones. It's going to be a hard-nosed game. Could be rainy. It's in September. It could be one of those games where they just maybe out physical North Carolina, or like I said, they get into to Drake May.
Yeah, I think it's a toss-up for sure, and I think Pat Narduzzi is going to be like really aggressive on defense. I think he's going to be selling the kitchen sink at Drake May. So, like you said, Pitt can for sure take the W. I just had North Carolina winning it. Then we move on to Syracuse. I have this as a W at home at Chapel Hill. I got the W.
Yeah, versus Syracuse, I do see that as a W.
Then we have the U after Syracuse at home. I also have this as a W.
Yeah, I think we're going to be out for blood, so I give them that.
Like for reasons we explained earlier,
they've had our number for a little bit. I just don't see how we don't get up for that game.
Yeah, like I said, we know who Drake May is. We don't really know what Tyler Van Dyke's going to do, so that's my reasoning there. Then we have Virginia, which I think is just going to be a dog walk. So
yeah, for sure, they definitely taking them around the park.
All right, then we have at Georgia Tech. I know they're on the road, but I think they ride the hot streak here and get the W.
Yes, yeah, I think this game, that win against Virginia, if they beat us, beat Georgia Tech, and with an easy game next week, they're coasting into the tougher part of their schedule.
So that's the only thing. I just hope they don't look ahead because not look ahead. Excuse me. Oh, I got that. Rewind. Wrong. Never mind. I had that in reverse. I had Campbell then Georgia Tech. They're going to take care of Georgia Tech. Now, the Campbell game, I don't want them to look ahead at Campbell because then they have the rivalry after Campbell, which is Duke, which I think both games will be a W.
Yes. Yeah, I hope that they don't overlook Campbell, but I mean, who was Campbell there? It looks like their mascot is a camel. So
fighting camels, man. Shout out Mike Mentor. I think that's the head coach.
Yeah, well, actually, I think camels are probably deadly or something like that. Or they may have sharp hoofs, who knows? but I don't think it's enough for them to beat the Tar Heels this time. Now going into Duke should be an interesting one. I can give it to UNC. I can give it to them because I can see it happening, but it'll be a hard one. Who knows?
Yes, sir. And then we move on to at Clemson, which may or may not, in my opinion, is not an ACC championship preview. But at Clemson, I have them taking the L on the road.
Yeah, I don't see them beating Clemson. I think they have PTSD from the ACC championship last year.
40-13 or something like that. It was crazy.
Yeah, something ugly.
It was bad. And then last game of the season at NC State, I have them winning against NC State for reasons we've said earlier.
Yeah, another in-state rivalry. They should handle business.
All right, so that has me having North Carolina at 10-2, which is a great season, 7-1 in ACC play. So that'll be a really high bowl for them. So shout out Mac Brown. Ace, what you got them?
I have them around 9-3. 8-4 if they lose to us. You know.
Hey, look, man. Keep hope alive, my brother. Keep hope alive.
Hey, got you.
All right, so then moving on, we have North Carolina State. They were 8-5 last year, 4-4 in ACC play, lost the Duke Mayo Bowl to Maryland. And that's what I was alluding to earlier in the show. They lost that Maryland game, but man, it was no offense whatsoever in that game. I think they had like 3-4 short fields, couldn't convert anything. It was bad. Now, granted, Devin Leary didn't play, but still, like the defense was forcing turnovers and the offense is like what you want us to do with them. So with that being said, again, lost Devin Leary, transferred to Kentucky. Drake Thomas, one of my favorite linebackers last year, has gone to the NFL. He's on the Raiders, so good luck, Drake Thomas. Now, one of my favorite quarterback prospects that was in the transfer portal did go to NC State, which is Brennan Armstrong. I like Brennan Armstrong, but I don't know if he's enough.
I don't think that he's enough, especially when you think about them losing 3 out of 4 receivers last year, and especially on the offense that wasn't that potent either way.
Yeah.
You know, so but Brennan Armstrong, I've seen him do a lot with a little, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
He's definitely a playmaker, and he's reuniting with I think his name is Robert Anae, who was his OC at UVA.
Yeah.
So, you know, they making recreate some of that magic from those good Virginia seasons.
Man, 2 years ago was crazy. Brennan Armstrong was going crazy. They had the 50th overall recruiting class, which is not good for NC State at all, to be completely honest with you. So we're going to get into the schedule. The first game is at UConn. I think UConn is again, very talented up-and-coming program, but I do have NC State having a W. I think it's a close game. I think it's going to be a really close game, but I think Brennan Armstrong can just, with his experience and everything, I think he wills them to a W.
Yeah, I agree. I see them going in handling business against Connecticut. I don't think that they are. I don't know how close it may be. I think it'll probably be a competitive game, and I don't think it's a nail biter.
I mean, me personally, look, we're degenerates. I'm not afraid to admit it. If the point spread is double digits, I'm taking NC State. Taking UConn in the points.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right, so then we have. Oh my bad. Go ahead, Ace.
I'm taking that.
All right, cool. All right, then we have Notre Dame. Notre Dame at home. I think Notre Dame walks through them.
Yeah. What'd you say earlier? They get dog walked?
For sure. All right, then we have Virginia Military at home. I think that's a W.
One, I never knew that's what that stood for, but yes, I think it's a W.
Virginia Military Institution. At Virginia, I have this as a W.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't beat Virginia this year, I mean, that says a lot about you.
Yeah. So then we have at home against Louisville, and for reasons stated earlier, because at home I have them taking the W against Louisville.
I can't remember what I chose for that game. Let me see. I want to say, oh well, looks like I have them winning.
Yeah. All right, so then they play Marshall, who's a really good Sun Belt team, but like you said, Josh, so they be coordinator. Don't know how badly that's going to affect them, so I have them taking the W.
Yeah, that is a toss up. Don't really know who's coming up behind them, whether it's somebody completely new or somebody who's familiar with the system and can keep something like that running. But I don't know. I kind of like Marshall a little bit. You know, I think they're a tough team. I always just like those good defense, hard-nosed footballs, can run the ball well. You know, I just love teams like that. It's hard to go against them.
Yeah, hey, look, I'm with you as far as it being a toss-up for sure. I had to go Brennan Armstrong, NC State, ACC. Like I said, the coordinator gone, so I had to. But again, the general moment, taking the points. At Duke, we have as an L for reasons explained earlier.
Yeah.
Clemson as an L because of earlier. The U, another repeat game, we have as an L. Wake Forest, at Wake Forest, I have as a W.
Yeah, I think they don't win but so many games this year. I have NC State at about like 5 wins or so. You know, I think they may have some bright spots, but I think they struggle to make a bowl at the end of the day.
Yep. So after Wake Forest, we have the Tech, which I have as a W. I'm pretty sure you have as a W as well.
Yeah.
And then last game of the season, UNC, like we just said, that's an L. So I have North Carolina State finishing at 7-5, making them bowl eligible, 4-4 in ACC play. But again, we have the difference in Marshall and maybe UConn, but yeah. So I have them bowl eligible.
It's usually like the toss-up games.
Yeah.
I think it really just depends on, you know, the little things. How disciplined are they? You know, what reasons do they have to play certain games?
Yeah, so moving on, we have Pitt. Finally, Pitt Panthers. Shout out Pat Narduzzi again. Went 9-4 in overall, 5-3 in ACC play. Then they were second when there was divisions in the Coastal. So always a good ACC, always competitive. They won the Sun Bowl against UCLA. UCLA wasn't a bad team either. They were actually really good. So that was a great bowl win. Phil Jakovic transfers in from Boston College. They lost Israel Abakanda to the NFL draft. They lost their leading receiver, Jared Wayne, to the NFL. They lost Collge Chancey, to the Bucks in the NFL draft, which was a high pick. And they only had the 56 overall recruiting class, which isn't good, but Pat Narduzzi being from the Michigan State lineage, we don't really boast of great recruiting classes to have great seasons. We develop players, and they do the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's probably the best in player development, maybe in the ACC right now. They always have people that come out and show out. You know, they, like you stated earlier, they got Boston College's former quarterback coming there, so he's coming home. He should be comfortable playing there. It should remind him of his high school days. Pitt was second nationally in sacks last year, and another fun fact: 199 sacks since 2019. So I don't see that stopping anytime soon. You know, especially under Pat Narduzzi.
Defensive coach for sure.
Definitely, their rushing attack will be essential to their success, but you know, it seems like they keep churning them out. You know, Israel may be gone, but they'll have somebody up, I'm sure.
Yeah, they went from James Conner and Israel, like they had back, so for sure.
Even if you go back even further, like they had LaShawn McCoy, like it's they got dogs, and they're always great at controlling the clock. So I guess
for sure.
Coming out with
all right, so first game of the season, they have Wofford. W, in my opinion, this isn't basketball. Even in basketball, it might not even be that competitive. So I'll take Wofford. Then we have Cincy, who Cincy has I just had his name on top of my head, the head coach. It's not Scott. Is it Scott Satterfield? Yeah, I think that they have Scott Satterfield now.
I'm not too sure what his name is.
I'm pretty sure they I think they have Scott Satterfield now. I think that's a W against Cincinnati. Pitt is always competitive. So, and
absolutely.
Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. They're always super competitive. I don't even know if Cincinnati is like the Cincinnati teams that we've thought about recently in recent years anyway. So, you know, I think they should go in there and they should be able to come out with a win.
Yeah, I think I think it'll take next year for Cincy to have a really good recruiting class. I think they're just moving into the Big 12 this year. So I don't know if they were able to sell recruits on that Big 12 thing as much. So they might be able to sell them more this year. Next, we have at West Virginia, which is a huge rivalry that Pitt won off of a drop touchdown, I believe, last year. So, I mean, I have Pitt winning again. I know they're in enemy territory, but I have Pitt.
Yeah, I have Pitt winning as well. But I think that's just because I'm not too familiar with what West Virginia has going on. I'm not too sure who's coming back or, you know, what the case may be. But I know they didn't really impressed me with so much last year. So I can feel comfortable giving it to Pitt.
Yeah, Bryce Wheaton Ford, I think, is gone. I think JT Daniels is gone. So backyard brawl, I mean, it's gonna be a fight for sure, but I think Pitt wins it. UNC is the next game. As stated earlier, I have this as an L. I think you have this as a W, correct?
Yeah, I had this as a W. I think this is just one of those games where they just get the drink made too much.
All right, cool. I think then we have at Virginia Tech. I think for me, this will be a bounce back game. This for you will keep the streak going.
Yes, sir. I have them definitely winning against Virginia Tech.
Then we have Louisville at home. I have this as a W.
Yeah. Iffy.
You think it's a trap game?
It's iffy. I don't think it's necessarily a trap game. I just think it's like, remember what I said? Like, I think Louisville is just one of those teams. Like, it just depends on how they show up, you know.
Yeah, in my opinion, Louisville win this game. This is for sure a trap game. At Wake Forest, W.
Yeah, definitely should be Wake Forest.
And now we have a big game here at Notre Dame, which I think Notre Dame gets the W. I think this is an L for Pitt.
Yeah, I think that's an L for Pitt too. Hopefully they don't come out of that game hurt or nothing because they got another tough one coming up.
Yeah, right after that, Florida State at home. I have this as an L, as explained earlier.
Yeah, definitely have that as an L. You know, so that's a tough stretch for them.
Yes, back to man. And then they have Syracuse at home, which I think is a W.
Yeah, I can see that. I agree.
Boston College, what I believe is a W.
Yeah, I think that's a W. The quarterback should go off on his former team.
Yeah, senior day, like you said, going against your old team. Then at Duke to end the season, I have as a W.
I can give Pittsburgh the W. I can give it to them. It's definitely a toss up.
All right, so that has me having Pitt at 9-3, 6-2 on ACC play. Ace, what do you have?
I'm gonna have them more around like 8-4, 7-5 maybe too. You know, I don't know. I think you know when I think of ACC teams, it's always top heavy. Then everybody else is like, you know, you can kind of get them at any moment. You know, it's so hard to predict with the ACC because it's just the discrepancy in talent from the top to the bottom is just it's kind of wild.
For sure. I think it was like a bunch of 500 teams last year in the ACC or like mid below or subpar.
Yeah, everybody usually is just floating along until somebody either makes a big play or something.
All right, cool. So we have Syracuse next. Syracuse last year was 7-6, 4-4 in ACC play. Lost the Pinstripe Bowl to Minnesota. Garrett Schrader returns, who was a former receiver, I think, at Ole Miss, converted quarterback. Sean Tucker is gone, who's like one of the best running backs they had in school history. Not the best, but one of the best. Marlo Wax returns, a great linebacker that I really like. 73rd overall recruiting class, which is really bad. Ace, give me something about Syracuse. Oh, Ace, did we lose him?
Yeah, my bad, dude.
All right, so I'm gonna jump back a little bit because I kind of got past Syracuse. I didn't want to have to fill the time. Okay. So with Syracuse, I had Syracuse going 7-5, 4-4 in ACC play, basically the same record as last year. Some notes on Syracuse. I had Garrett Schrader returning. Sean Tucker was gone. One of the best backs in school history. They had the 73rd overall recruiting class, which is terrible. But yeah, anything you want to say about Syracuse and then the record prediction?
I think that their offensive line is going to be probably a problem for them. But like you said, they do have Schrader coming back, so that should be a good. You know, he can make plays. You say you had them at 7 wins.
Yes, sir. I have I'll name them. The wins are Colgate, Western Michigan, Army, Virginia Tech, Boston College, Georgia Tech, and Wake Forest.
Yeah, those are pretty good wins. I had them around like 5 or 6. But I think I was just trying to account for you know any kind of variability that I don't know about right now.
That's respect. Like we said multiple times, here Syracuse was inconsistent.
Yeah, but yeah, they were inconsistent. But are they still returning a lot of their front line on defense?
I want to say yes. I didn't see too many but
because what I can remember from them is like they weren't necessarily big, but they could move.
yeah,
I think that
for
should help
sure.
them.
That defense is speedy.
But then I think back on the games like that Notre Dame game where they just got completely manhandled.
Oh,
So
for sure. Which is why I have them losing to Purdue, UNC, Clemson, Florida State, and Pitt.
yeah, sounds about right. Yeah, I think they have a decent season. Probably bowl eligible at the end, but a couple players can make or break that.
Yep. And then we're off to Virginia, which I gave it a shout out for the players that died in that campus shooting last year. Sad event, sad what the world can be sometimes. But I just went over the fact that lost Brennan Armstrong, as talked about earlier. He went to Louisville. No, not Louisville, NC State, sorry. They gained Malik Washington, the transfer from Northwestern. And I was just about to get into the schedule right when you joined. So we all caught up to speed.
All right, let's do it.
First game, Tennessee, L. Blowout, L.
Big L.
Blowout.
Big L.
Then we have
the biggest L.
Yeah. Then we have James Madison, which is an L in my opinion as well.
I agree. I like James Madison.
Yep. Then we have at UMD, University of Maryland, which I believe is another L.
Yeah. Frankly, I think this team starts off 0-5.
I got them at 0-4. I have them losing to NC State, but I have them somehow beating Boston College. I just, like I said, it's one of them games where the game always goes different than what I think. So,
yeah, for sure.
Then we have William and Mary. I think that's another W.
Yeah, I do think that's a W.
Then we have at UNC, already described earlier. That's an L. Yeah. At the U, I already said it earlier. We think it's an L. Yeah. Georgia Tech, I think, is a W. I think you have them as a W as well, right?
Yeah.
Yep. And then we have at Louisville, we already said was an L. Duke is an L. And then the rivalry to end the season, I think they take the L to Virginia Tech.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I only have this team at about 2 or 3 wins. I think 3 is being generous.
Yeah, I have them at 3-9. Overall, 2-6 ACC play. The 2 wins are Georgia Tech and Boston College. The 1 non-con win is William and Mary. Not too much to say about the school. Next, we have Virginia Tech, who finished 3-8. I know y'all thinking like, how they finished 3-8? That's not 12 games because of the UVA thing. They were supposed to play UVA, but UVA canceled his last 2 games. They finished 1-6 in ACC play. Grant Wells, the quarterback, returns, who's not really much of a thrower. I think he's more so of a runner. Ollie Jennings is the transfer receiver that comes in from Old Dominion. I think he had close to 1,000 yards, if not 1,000 yards last year. So that's a good pickup. Then they have Jalen Lane, another transfer receiver from Middle Tennessee State. He's nice. I think that's the speedster, correct? If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. So that's a great pickup. So they had the 45th overall recruiting class, which isn't good for Virginia Tech because Virginia Tech is somewhat of a football school. So that's not really good. Their standards. Ace, give me something about Virginia Tech.
Yeah, like you said, they do have an influx of talent in the wide receiver room now. Now, can they get that talent going? I'm not 100% sure. I feel like they struggled on the ground game last year. And, if you're going to pass, you got to at least get the ground game going. I think they can do that if they're just averaging 3 yards per carry or just over 3 yards per carry at that. The secondary was pretty good, but lost the stud in Cypress. So I'm not too sure how they replace him. I do know they have Brent Pry, who's a pretty good defensive coach. So, maybe their linebackers will be flying around and, they probably can scrap together a pretty good defense, but will they have the firepower on to back that up and keep them off the field? I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. So first game of the season is against Old Dominion. I actually have this as an L for Virginia Tech.
I don't know. I think I can see them winning this and that. It's probably a close game though. Probably a very close game. Because Old Dominion is not a slouch.
Yep, exactly. Then we have Purdue. I have Purdue as an L. Obviously, Purdue is just a better team.
Yeah.
Then I have at Rutgers, who Rutgers isn't they're not 1,000 times better than Virginia Tech, but they're no slouches either. They're normally the bottom of the Big Ten, but I think they'll beat Virginia Tech.
I think I'll give it to Rutgers just because they're at home. But a lot of the same, I shared a lot of the same sentiment you do. with
all right. And now we have at Marshall, which I think is another L, leaving Virginia Tech to start 0-4 in my opinion.
I think they pull that one out. I think they can pull out against Marshall.
Okay.
They're going to have to prove that they can. They're going to have to prove that they tough somehow. You know, they got to go. If you can't go into Marshall and get a win, you know your season's pretty doomed. And I don't think they're as bad as Virginia, so I at least got them with a couple more wins than them.
Okay. All right. Moving on, we have at home against Penn. I think this is an L for sure.
For sure.
And then we have at Florida State, as discussed. This is going to be a dog walk.
Yeah,
Wake Forest, I think, is the first W of the season after starting 0-6. In my opinion, I think they get their first W against Wake Forest.
Dang, till October.
Look, man, I think it's gonna be a real rough start to these guys.
Yeah, I agree. Though I do think they pull out a W against Wake Forest.
All right, and then we have not at Syracuse, excuse me, at home against Syracuse. I have that as an L.
I have that as a W. I think coming off a bye week, they may may have something for Syracuse.
I don't know, man. I'm like so low on this Virginia Tech team either this year. It's not even funny. Yeah. Then we have at Louisville, which I think that's another L.
I agree.
Cool. And then we have at Boston College, which for some reason I have this as a W. I don't know. I'm just as low at Boston College as I am in Virginia Tech. So I think Virginia Tech gets it out. I think Virginia Tech is more of a football school. I think Virginia Tech might be able to edge it out. So
yeah, it's a toss up. I'm not mad at you giving them the W though. I can see it. I can see it happening.
All right. Then we go to at home against NC State. I think NC State pulls this one out.
I don't know. I think NC State may hand them an L right here.
Oh, you think Virginia Tech gets it against NC State?
No, I think NC State is going to.
Oh yeah, so we agree then. We hear them. Okay, yeah. Cool. And then lastly, as discussed, we got the rivalry game, and I think that Virginia Tech gets the W over Virginia.
Yeah, they should, at least if they have any self-respect.
So that for me, that leaves Virginia Tech also at 3-9, but 3-5 in ACC play, making them win on the tiebreaker over Virginia.
Yeah, I think I had them around like more like 4 and 8 ish kind of.
Yeah, because you got we differ in the Marshall game, so you have them winning Marshall, I have them losing.
Yeah.
And the last team of the ACC. Sorry, guys, I know this is a long episode. We have Wake Forest. Wake Forest finished 8-5 last year, 3-5 in ACC play. They won the Gasparilla Bowl against Mizzou. But a big part of Wake Forest success is now gone. Sam Hartman has now transferred to Notre Dame, which makes me not like him. A.T. Perry is gone to the draft. Their lead rusher, Justice Ellison, however, does return. But they also had the 67th overall recruiting class, which is really bad. And Wake Forest isn't not technically, no, not even technically. They aren't normally known to be a football school. So when you have a guy like Sam Hartman at quarterback, it's kind of hard for them to replace him. So, Ace, give me something about Wake Forest.
Yeah, definitely going to be hard to replace him, especially when he's the reason that they were number one in scoring and top 3 in total yards in the ACC last year. Yeah, I don't know how they replace that missing production, but I think they're in the quarterback battle now, and somebody's going to have to prove it. As far as their defense goes, I don't think that they really have too much. I think they have a linebacker core that's pretty short tacklers, but other than that, I can't really say too much about Wake Forest. I think they're probably one of the bottom of the barrel teams in the ACC this year.
Oh, I don't think they one of. I think they are for sure the bottom of the barrel. And we'll start by the schedule. I do have them beating Elon. Elon is not a football school at all.
Yeah.
I do have them taking the L to Vanderbilt, which Vanderbilt might be on the rise. Shout out Vanderbilt. They won. I think they were bowl eligible last year, so shout out to them. Then we have ODU at ODU. I think that's an L.
Mm-hmm. Those two games, I don't know. I can easily see them losing them, but I'm not too sure about Vanderbilt. Every time I think of Vanderbilt, I just think of the Vanderbilt that we know of, the Vanderbilt that sucks. Granted, they're an SEC team, but they were never that kind of SEC team, you know?
They're bottom of the barrel for sure.
Yeah. Old Dominion, yeah, if they're gonna if they don't lose to Virginia, if they lose to Virginia Tech, they have to win this game. You know, they got to get one of those out. So I can definitely see them taking the L there.
All right, and then Georgia Tech, I have at home against Georgia Tech as a W, leading them to have that only ACC W. Clemson at Clemson, L.
Yeah.
At Virginia Tech, I have as an L.
Yeah.
Pitt, L. Florida State, L. Duke, L. NC State, L. Notre Dame, L. Syracuse, L. Making them 2-10 in overall and 1-7 in ACC play.
Yeah, I'll be very surprised if they are even a bowl team. You know,
they make the bowl game. I'm selling the house.
Yeah, we have to.
All right. So with that being said, that's every team's win-loss prediction. A little nugget about players returning, transfers, players that's gone due to the draft or transferred out. So ACC
do you want to say a little bit? You want to say a little bit about Notre Dame, just since they have a few games?
I mean, I can. I didn't really write any notes about it. But I can go on the fly. Marcus Freeman's second year as coach of Notre Dame. He's a defensive coach, so their defense is always going to be there. I can't remember who. Oh, Sam Hartman, transfer quarterback. Yeah. So I think that bolsters the offense a lot, making Notre Dame, like you said earlier, one of those guys that could play potentially for a playoff spot. I think they go. What was it? I think I have them going 5-1 in their little ACC schedule. I think the loss being to Clemson.
Something like that. Yeah, I see Notre Dame being around a 9 or 10 win team this year. Yeah, like you said, bringing Sam Hartman in should definitely help their offense a lot because they definitely needed that last year. You know, they have great linebackers. They have a dog transfer coming from Ohio State. I think Javonte and something. You know, yeah, they got a lot of defensive production coming back. They lost Logan. What's his Logan Diggs? Yeah, Logan Diggs, who was I think their second leading rusher last year.
I can't remember. I was trying to remember for the life of me. They were leading rusher. I can't remember his name for some reason.
It's Audric Esteen.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. EUST. I know exactly what you're talking
about. Yeah. And it looks like he was 6 yards per carry last year. You know, they got two dog tackles, Joe Alt on the left, Blake Fisher on the right. I think this is why I wanted to bring them up. Another fun stat for them: 7-0 when they rush over 150 yards, 2-4 when they didn't.
And I mean, shoot, $150, man. Hey, look, you can't win around $150.
Right.
Something went bad.
Yeah, no, for real. But they're 48-1 over the last 6 years when they do run over 150 yards. So
they had some backs now too. Shout out, what's his name? Kyron Williams, I want to say. There was running back when they played that North Carolina game a couple years ago when Kyle Hamilton was still there. That was a shootout too. I think Sam Howell. I think that was Sam Howell and Jack Cohn. That was 2 years ago. It was 2021. I think that was Sam Howell and Jack Cohn.
Probably.
But yeah, shout out Kyron Williams. Another thing about Notre Dame is this Sam Hartman thing is going to help them a lot because I think they dropped the game to Marshall last year, which was crazy. Shocked everybody. They were in a close one for a little minute against Cal until Cal became Cal late in the game. Yeah. But they did beat North Carolina, so that's because North Carolina ain't got no defense. So I'm interested to see what Notre Dame does.
Yeah, I think they'll they'll come out and show why they're Notre Dame. And they recruit so well. You gotta keep that going.
Yeah, I hope they don't. But hey, that's just me. I don't like Notre Dame. Sorry, not sorry. So to wrap up this ACC preview, we have our ACC championship: Florida State versus Clemson. I have Florida State winning the rematch. Who do you have?
Unfortunately, I have Florida State winning that rematch. I think it'll be a tough game, but I think whoever is the most talented and the most disciplined will win that game for sure.
For sure. And do you have any prediction on ACC Player of the Year?
I'm gonna throw my man in there, Tyler Van Dyke, man. I just think. Now listen to my reason. I just think that we're going to see a lot more of what we saw the first time around when he had the spread offense. I think it just caters to him a lot more. I think statistically he's going to put up the numbers. He makes great decisions on the field, man. He's not like an inaccurate passer or anything. I just think he wasn't in the system that really catered to him last year.
Yeah, like I said, y'all receivers couldn't separate for nothing, so that doesn't really help a quarterback. But it's no way, in my opinion, that Florida State goes 13-0 and Jordan Travis isn't Player of the Year for ACC. I'm sorry, like it's no way.
He would have to be. I mean, he would have to, unless their running back just goes crazy. But I don't think he's that good,
Yeah, no, I think
Jordan Travis. Yeah, of course. On the short list, you got Cade Klubnik, Jordan Travis is
Drake May. Drake May got to be up there.
Of course, Drake May. Yeah. I think off top those three, you have to come to mind.
All right. So Ace, any final words before we end the episode?
No, man. This was great. I was looking forward to this all week, man. I'm glad you had me on.
Hey, look, I ain't gonna lie, I was looking forward to it too. And ACC, like I said, I know I had to get my guy on. I know he knows a lot about college football. Me and him go back and forth about college football a lot, like who we don't like, who we think can go to the next level, and even gambling. So, hey, look, like I said earlier, we're both degenerates. I'm not afraid to admit it. I can't wait. College football is 30 days away. I'm excited. I hope y'all had fun. I know it's
bumping again.
Yeah, see, I can't wait. I hope y'all had fun. I know it's a long episode, but I hope you had fun. I hope you learned. And we'll catch you next time on Carl Talking College. Peace.
Thank you for staying to the end. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like this video, subscribe, and also hit that notification button so you can be notified next time we put out a video. If you're listening on any podcast platform, subscribe and hit that notification button, y'all, so you can be notified we put out another podcast audio. And last but not least, hit that share button. No matter what you're listening to or watching it, hit that share button and send it to somebody that you know that would love to watch this episode you just listened to. So once again, thank you for staying to the end, and we'll see y'all in the next episode.